question to all the panelists here. According to you, how would we define a green building? Starting with Anshul, ma'am.
So thank you and warm welcome, everyone. My grand regards to Nilesh ji, Rajiv ji. I missed wishing both of you. So very good definition of a green building. I have been answering this question since the day I completed my master's in environmental architecture, because people keep asking me, is a green building is green in color, or what exactly are you doing? Are you planting something to make it green? And today we might find it weird, but that time it was the logical way the word green was anticipated. So a green building, according to me, definitely will be a third party certified building only. Because unless and until you give an exam, you get a certificate for your particular project that it is approved and it is showing tangible results, which is approved by and also monitored by some third party. Only then it can be actually rated as a green building. Of course, the definition of sustainability and environment impacts do follow with tangible and intangible benefits. But for now, a building which is following a proper level of certification, having tangible impacts, can be a green building for me.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering that. Moving ahead, Shabbir ji, we would like to have your inputs.
So green buildings, obviously, from a layman, it is a building which saves power and water. So if I am staying in a green home, I will be using less power with various engineering technologies of LED lighting, using solar power, using then we would save water. Water we would save with rainwater harvesting, with recycling, with low water faucet taps, low flow showers. So all this saves money for the customer in the sense that it helps them to say lower their society maintenance costs. So for a home customer, it is a win-win situation, along with the commercial customer also, because the commercial customer, specifically like we are doing net zero from Global Network for Zero for commercial IT buildings, and they work on a per seat cost. So the per seat cost obviously reduces because of the saving in power and water. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabbir ji. Moving ahead, Nilesh ji, can we have your inputs?
Thank you, Akanksha, Vinisha. It reminds me of the old COVID days when we were kind of running sessions to sessions, back-to-back sessions. And it is grateful to all the audience who have joined today to express their kind of awareness and their contribution towards sustainability. It's good to see people who are also, apart from we are all tied in our day-to-day affairs, but taking care of the environment. And congratulations to you to having kind of initiated and facilitating such kind of a session. Anshul, hi. Shabbir ji, good to see you. Rajiv ji, hi. So, do we have a plan? We have plan B, but as we know, we do not have a planet B. So that is the reason why it is so much important that we focus on the aspect of green buildings. And the reason also is obvious, because we do not have an option. And secondly, we are going to build with the growth that we are doing. We are going to build another India in the next 20 years, or whatever existing footprint of buildings that we have in India today. Looking at the way we are growing at 6-7% of GDP, the largest growing economy in the world, we would be surpassing the developed countries, as well as we'll be adding one more India in the next 20-30 years. So it makes logical sense to make those as green buildings. To answer, and Shabbir ji has answered it very eloquently and simply. So if I am making a building, if I'm making a 1 lakh square feet building, and if there is an option that I can make it in such a manner that it consumes less amount of resources, should I be doing it or no? Now, if you ask that question to any kid, any child, that can you have your cake and eat it too? He would of course say yes. Why not? So it is obviously that if I can make a building which consumes less resources, saves energy, saves water, and reuses materials, then we should be doing it, and it is for the larger good. So that is the reason why we should do it, and that is what simply it is. We may get bogged down into the jargons of green buildings, but there are no. It is as simple as that. It is nothing complicated in that matter, and that is the reason why we should be doing it, and that is what I would qualify or call as a green building.
Thank you, Nilesh ji. Rajiv ji, according to your perspective, what is a green building?
First of all, welcome to all the participants and the panelists, and big thank you to A Subject for doing this seminar. As all my co-panelists have already, properly defined green building and all the aspects related to green building. What we need to remember is that India is now the third largest in the world when it comes to GHG emissions, and is poised to grow even higher than that. And there is no denial to that. And construction activities, as we all know, contribute to the maximum amount of GHG emissions globally. So yes, for us, any buildings which are closer to the nature, which help us be coexisting with the nature, are the green buildings, of course. And as Shabbir ji and Nilesh ji and Anshul ji have already mentioned, anything which is consuming less resources, recyclable, everything, yes, has to be part of it. Yes, it has to be sustainable, durable, and long lasting, because the longer lasting the building is, the less the amount of reconstruction repair that we have to carry.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. Totally agree with you. Green buildings are the ones that helps in reducing energy consumption, right? So, Nilesh, we would like to have your insights on how innovative building envelopes designs can contribute to reduce energy consumption and simultaneously enhancing the sustainability of the building.
So as we say, as we all know that the envelope, like the building envelope, is kind of called as a third skin. You have your own biological skin that protects all your physical organs, your heart and your liver and pancreas, all are protected by the flesh and blood and the skin that we have. We have the second skin, which is our clothes that we wear. And the third skin is the building, which protects us. So that is the third skin that you kind of survive into. And that is the reason why that third skin becomes more important also, because that is what protects you from the harsh vagaries of the environment. Like you change your clothes in your summers and winters, you have an option to change into a light wear, or in the rainy season, you have the option, in winters, you have the option to have a pullover. But can buildings do that? Because weather changes around buildings equally, but you cannot drape your building with a woolen cover during cooler season, or have your a linen shirt or a half shirt for your building, or a light wear during summers. So the building envelope, because of the nature of its characteristic, is a fixed entity which needs a lot of thought to be given while designing, because that is the first point of contact between your external environment and your indoor environment in which you reside. So now wherever all the audience and wherever all our panels, wherever you're sitting, if you look outdoors or you look around, there is a certain degree of temperature outside and something which is protecting you, which is making you comfortable. So between you and the outdoors is this envelope. So that is the reason this envelope plays a very important role. It is the first point of contact, and there's a reason how you design it will define the sustainability of the building. How good or bad you design an envelope will define how good or bad is your overall sustainability of the building. So orientation, as we say, there are two aspects to it, as you know, passive and active. So orientation is the most key important aspect, like how you orient your building with the respect to the direction. So we are in a tropical country, we are in the hemisphere when you have your southwest and your major direction where you gain heat from is the southwest facade. So that is a facade where if you have lesser of windows, if you have more of wall surfaces, your heat gain will be lesser. So these are some of the very simple passive strategies which we teach kids, which we teach students in college, that is how you can, if you have a choice to rotate your building, rotate it in a manner so that the envelope is well designed to be a passive. And of course, if you are constrained with challenges where you cannot do much about the orientation, then you play around with glass, you play around with materials, you play around with aesthetical materials, with composite materials, with buffers, air gaps, concrete panels, aerocon blocks, or hollow cavity blocks. So these are all the palettes available, which are sustainable materials, which by which you can make a envelope, which will ultimately define how much will your energy consumption be and how good or bad your building will be.
Indeed, Nilesh ji, your insights were quite interesting and informative. Thank you. Moving on to Anshul ji, my next question. What is your vision for integrating sustainable practices into real estate sector? And how do you see this contributing to industry's long-term growth and resilience?
So thank you for this very important question. And when we talk of real estate, we need to understand that real estate is not developing alone. It is also impacting all the parallel aspects, something like transport, infrastructure, and many, many other things which don't come in the direct, purview of real estate, but they are all growing. And there are many factors affecting this real estate. But what is happening in today's scenario? People are trying to understand whether sustainability is still applicable to them or not. And in the real sense, the growth is happening rapidly, and we are really anticipating crazy numbers in future. As Nilesh did mention that we will have another India coming soon. The kind of growth currently today we are seeing in all the tier one cities, or tier two or tier three as well. We often go to our natives and we are like, oh shit, everything is changed. We cannot recognize this place. This is now happening with every small, big, any kind of town. Another aspect of redevelopment is also coming up, because we don't want to live with those Purana amenities. We want all the modern things coming up. And because of this, real estate is really going, in the luxury segment, trying to make the most out of it. And on the second hand, they want to definitely go sustainable and adopt green building practices. Now, doing this is sometimes challenging, sometimes we can say quite ambiguous, because the often asked question remains, if I am going sustainable, what is the additional cost to it? Is it going to be costly? Why are people giving us incentives? Is it going to compensate the additional cost we are giving? All these questions keep coming. So I have added all these things in my presentation as well. But the vision that I see for real estate in a few years from now, that we already have targeted certain goals for the country. We are developing, we will keep developing, we have to develop. And with this vision, if we are following all the basic practices of sustainability, we will sustain. But basic practices are not enough. And we need to go definitely on a rigorous scale following sustainability. The first and most important part every and any developer should follow is best practices. We have already defined what are best practices, but often people fail to even follow them. If we are doing whatever we are supposed to do in the right ways, probably we will not face a major challenge. An architect is allowed to do what they are supposed to do. A green building consultant is given the freedom to choose the orientation, choose the right materials. As Nilesh already mentioned about the envelope, if we are doing it right, our 50% problems are resolved. And we need to have some resilience, especially the end users. So awareness is one of the major aspect. Of course, I'll detail it out in my presentation, but for now, I definitely see a vision that yes, India is going green on a big way, and we are all set to face this climate, I would say temperament, as well as all the faucets coming up on us. So looking forward to it.
Thank you, Anshulji. That was quite great. Sharing your expertise with us. Moving on to Shabbirji. Now, on to this journey in achieving net zero emissions, what kind of challenges or risks do you foresee, and how can we mitigate these challenges, Shabbirji?
So, net zero as a concept, the government of India, Prime Minister Modi has committed in the Paris Agreement that India will become net zero by 2070. And there are intermediate targets, binding intermediate targets for India, 2030, 2040, where, India will have to move towards the net zero journey. So how does India become net zero? India becomes net zero if all the buildings, warehouses, factories, malls, any kind of, habitat that you live in, organizations become net zero. The vehicles become electric vehicles. Primarily, we try and source power only from solar plants, so that we don't use the coal-based power plants in the country. We don't use fossil fuels. So all that is a journey which India will have to go through. It involves various types of scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions, and the way we work at a company, we are working with projects across the world, including India, which includes including warehouses, structures, data centers, which actually consume power and water. And we need to put in technologies in place. We need to work out the scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. We need to work out a net zero plan, and we need to see how, going forward, the net zero plan could be a 5-year plan, it could be a 2-year plan in terms of ensuring what we do. India is actually, in terms of the developing countries, actually at the forefront in the net zero journey compared to the others. Of course, Europe is actually the place where they have done a lot on the net zero journey. I was surprised to see that they have made rules for people who are manufacturing jeans. You cannot recycle a jean before 5 years now in Europe. And it is given an app to a customer. The customer has to say when he has bought the jean, when he just cannot go and dump it anywhere. So those are the kind of measures which are moving towards net zero. So you save power, you save water, you reduce your carbon footprint, you reduce your embodied carbon. So that is the way to go. And like Nilesh also just mentioned about we are constructing. I have been given to understand that we are actually going to make one Chicago every year in India. That's the kind of construction which is going to happen. So unless we don't do this, then we have a duty to our next generation in ensuring that we leave them on earth, in which they can live on. Thank you.
Thank you, Shabbir ji, for identifying this key risk into our journey towards net zero. Moving on to Rajiv ji, now Anshul ma'am has clearly mentioned that when we go for sustainability and green innovations that are available, there is this cost factor that adds in. So what strategies are being implemented to initially, to reduce this cost barrier that is associated with adapting the solutions that you offer, like machine applied plasters on a larger scale?
So before we delve into the cost barriers as such, we are referring to, because here one thing we want to be very clear upon is we are not increasing the actual end use cost. It's just the initial cost of equipment that goes into delivering the product. So first we need to understand that this is an ecosystem comprising of course, the builders, the contractors, the subcontractors, and also the manufacturers who are producing these ready-mix materials. And there's a lot of manufacturers now who have started to produce these ready-mix materials, which are utilized for spraying machine-applied plastering. And not only producing materials, these manufacturers, there are two-pronged approach to this. One is these manufacturers themselves taking a fleet of these machines, which they then rent it out to the contractors, the subcontractors who are working with their materials for doing this plastering. This is akin to what has been done in Dubai, has been done in Thailand, or has been done in Europe across the last 2-3 decades. And the other approach that we as a company has taken up is providing these machines on rent or with longer payment terms to the subcontractors who do not have the capacity or the wherewithal to park so much capital at front. And we have tied up with some banks as well to help us in this regards to enable that.
Thank you, Rajesh, for sharing your insights. Hello, Mala ma'am. We are glad to have you here today with us. Ma'am, yeah, my question to you, ma'am, could you elaborate on some of the key initiatives that IGBC has undertaken to promote green building practices in India?
So first thing is very happy to see all the faces of my colleagues, Shabbir ji, Nilesh ji and Anshul, my buddies. So all are here. So because I represent Indian Green Building Council as a chair for Mumbai chapter. So let me tell you that I think most of the people who are here, they know that IGBC has been propagated this green building movement since decades, almost starting from 2001 onwards, and having one first building in 2003. So IGBC journey has been started, from 2001 onwards in India. And the first building of 20,000 square feet, which is a platinum rated building of Shirarji Godrej Business Center in Hyderabad. And after that, this journey never stops. And today it is 11.76 billion square feet footprint in the country, which includes residential sector, commercial component, and infrastructure projects of metro, railway, and other types. So this is what I just wanted to say. And the utility of the standard with 32 rating systems for Indian environment and the ecosystem of this sustainability has been proved in a very positive manner, because in India, we have a different climate, we have a different regional priorities, and every project itself is a different typology. So these 32 rating systems are really working very well. Okay, so which gives us this number of 11.67 as on today. And because I represent Mumbai chapter, so we have more than 29 chapters across the country, and we all are working voluntarily. We are not on payroll of IGBC or something. So currently, I just joined IGBC as a chair just 2 months ago. And in this chapter, we don't only propagate the rating, but also we promote climate resilient built environment and sustainability and city level initiative holistically, how we can enhance green cover in the city, what measures and contribution as a IGBC chapter we can give. So it's beyond that. So we think about entire built environment, which is proposed or which is existing, because we want to work on the climate change agenda, because each institution nowadays is focusing on one common objectives and one common goal. Each of the expert I can see here in the panel, I think everyone has the same objective and same goal, or maybe our representation may be different from different platform or something, but our goals are very, very similar, and in some way we are contributing, sometime as an expert, sometime as a leadership, but finally, this is just a boon boon se ghada bharta hai, like that concept comes into the picture. Because right now the climate change and global warming, these issues are very, very prominent, and I think all the 60 odd members in the audience, I can see that they are listening to us, because these issues have been so, I would say, in the market. Everyone knows that what is global warming, and 1.5 degree temperature, Earth is going to get warm, and decarbonization, carbon emissions. I think Shabbir ji was talking about all three kind of emissions. Forget about this, but the real estate market, which the show you people are organizing, that must address climate change now. This is what the green building importance comes into the picture. And your particular show is on the building envelope. So this is what the building envelope importance through green building approach is also very important. So I'm just trying to connect the bridge, like what is IGBC? What is IGBC momentum in the green building growth, and what chapter wise contribution we people are doing and our teams. And if you see technically, so how every green building at micro level, this contributes to the society, this contributes to the environment, and this really cut down your resource consumption. And this also helps in the decarbonization process. So I would say each and every contribution really matter to us. So that has a positive impact on the overall built environment. this is what, we are looking for on the same objectives of climate resiliency and the decarbonization, and to meet the net zero goals in line with our government agenda.
Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us with the strategies that IGBC has undertaken for creating a better future. Moving on to my next question, Anshulji. In what ways do you believe the real estate sector can align its practices with the UN Sustainable Development Goals to drive positive environmental and social impact?
Coming to the UN goals of SDG goals, what we are realizing that real estate sector is ideally affecting 9 of them directly. And not only that, but I mean, it is absolutely not restricted to firstly real estate sector. It is for everybody. And when we are talking real estate sector, we are one of the major contributors to the negative side impacts. And minded, before I go ahead, Akanksha, your last question to Rajiv ji was, you mentioned that I was focusing on cost. I would definitely say that yes, people are cost conscious, and definitely it doesn't mean that green buildings are costly or sustainability will enhance cost, because this topic is very close to my heart and I just thought of adding that part here. Moving on with the UN goals. So yes, by following simple principles of sustainability, which was highlighted as building envelope by Nilesh ji, which Shabbir ji also highlighted, making simple changes and having tangible results with water, energy, and multiple other factors, which Rajiv ji also highlighted, that we are just choosing the right materials, giving the right technology aspect to it, which Malaji also highlighted, with certain certification programs going in the right ways. So if we are following all these basic principles, we are ideally catering to these 9 direct goals. And that is how the impact that is being created is sort of taking care of what is adopted from various studies, that if we are following the simple practices of sustainability, we will meet the factors that are adversely affecting and come to a neutral level. So that is why in my last question, I also mentioned that we need to go beyond that. Like, saving of 45% energy is required for 1.5-degree reversal of climate change and temperature rise. So it is not important for us to stop at say 20% or 30%. We have to identify a rigorous goal for everybody. So even SDGs, which are defined, they are, they will vary for country-wide suggestions, because every country will have different impact factors, and it will affect the population in a different way. So it is important that we define our own goals that are already defined. We should follow them very, very precisely. And that is how we are meeting the UN goals also with the sustainability in real estate sector.
Thank you, Anshulji, for sharing your inputs. Moving on to Nilesh ji, considering your expertise in green building certifications, how important is it that incorporating of optimized building envelopes in achieving certifications such as LEED and IGBC? What are the key considerations for architects in this?
One key aspect or one key element which has worked or what is helping people with respect to LEED, IGBC and rating systems is that we help people wake up early. It is not that certifications or something is kind of a facelift, that once you are kind of finishing the building and then you say that let me make my building green and then you can do it. So with your question, how is LEED or IGBC or these rating systems are one aspect that they are very actively helping is that they are making people aware that if you want to develop a green building, if your product intends to be environmentally friendly or sustainable, you have to start from the drawing board. It cannot be something that is, because then what you will end up doing is more of passive measures like changing a light or changing a glass or doing all that stuff which is required. But the important aspect is that you are aware of your end goal and you start taking steps right at the sketch level when it is an ideation stage. So that is what the rating systems like LEED, IGBC have helped create an movement, create an awareness. And also with the because of the fact that there's always a FOMO, fear of missing out, that suppose my neighbor is doing it, my competitor is doing it, so I might as well do it. So as more and more stakeholders, more and more developers embrace making their projects and products environmentally sustainable and green, so a factor of FOMO also creeps in. So that's where we are seeing more and more people being aware, jumping into the bandwagon and supporting the 11 billion square feet that Malaji also mentioned, that so much of built up space is being made. So that is how rating systems are helping create a momentum, create a movement out of and creating awareness, and such sessions that you are doing, wherein coming just before I forget, the aspect of cost, we all have seen and we have all have had seen an era of 16 rupees a minute of calls to near zero calls now. Uh, Similar is the case of the green building industry as well. Every element of a green building, LED lights, for example, waterless urinals, for example. We have done projects wherein we have bought one waterless urinal for as high as 40,000 rupees a piece, which is now today available at 6,000 rupees a piece. We have had LED lights which have seen a dramatic cascading of cost over the last so many years now. It is a pure demand and supply play, wherein more the volume increases, more the market size increases, the cost come down. So it is not about spending more to be greener and making it sustainable. It is about being aware and waking up early. So you wake up early, you save your cost, you do a green building at a negligible cost, and there are rating systems to aid you in the process. Rating systems hold your hand, they help you cross the road, and then they take you toward take that step towards sustainability.
Thank you, Nilesh ji, for sharing your expertise. Moving on to Rajiv ji. Could you elaborate on the environmental advantages of machine applied plastering compared to the traditional methods?
Very well, Kanchwala. It's a very well thought out question. For machine applied plastering, there are a lot of different benefits that we talk about when it comes to environmental benefits. First is material usage and wastage. With machine applied plastering, we actually end up reducing the quantum of material required because the plasters are lighter. So I'm able to utilize, the metal consumption is anywhere less than between 10 to 20%. We're able to reduce that much of the metal consumption. Number two, we are able to reduce the material wastages which are done, while mixing on site or making teeps, and you make a batch of a mix, and then by the end of the day you're not able to utilize it, and it goes to waste. So all of those wastages is done away with. The material performance, the process performance in terms of longevity and durability of the building, the performance is far better. There are a considerable reduction, let's say a 99% reduction in debonding, which you see in normal cases. And, the cracks and seepages going through plaster, which require, if people are coming from Mumbai or the coastal regions of India, they will very well be aware of, how frequently the external facades have to be replastered because of the cracks and stuff happening because of poor performance material being used. And then, of course, you have the other environmental benefits in terms of GHG emissions. So the transportation required for these materials is lower as compared to, because you have to bring in bulk materials and different materials on site. So the transportation requirement is reduced. The requirement for mixing these materials is reduced, and the dust generation on the sites, which is a big challenge, especially in very polluted cities, can be reduced dramatically because the machines which are being used, they help in reducing the dust generation on site. So all the dust which is being generated is collected at the machine end itself. So you do not have that problem coming through.
Thank you, Rajiv ji, for answering that. Moving on to Malaji. Mala, congratulations on winning the National Award of Innovations in Green Buildings and Sustainability. So how does it feel to be recognized by NAREDCO Mahi as a woman entrepreneur in this field?
I said it is okay, it is fine, it sounds good. And,
Yeah.
it's a like something everyone feels good, you know, when it is being appraised. What a divine powers they also feel when we appraise them. So that is another thing. I think I feel good. And what do you want to listen?
That's it, ma'am. It was good to have you here.
We would like to have a closing statement from Mala ma'am.
So first of all, I was listening everyone, all my fellow speakers, and I think everyone has opened their heart about sustainability, what they think about that, and why they feel that it is so important, and why eco-friendly lifestyle is so important, you know, for us. So we in IGBC feels that if you feel that, you know, there's 9 planetary boundaries, this is my message to the audience who's listening, that 9 planetary boundaries, if you see these boundaries and research on Google, you will see that 7 planetary boundaries have been already crossed. Okay, and 2 boundaries, I think it is about to cross. We are already on that stage. So I think that's the reason today we are discussing through this platform green, we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about decarbonization, net zero, all these stuff, you know, suddenly came in our life, you know, and we all are talking about that. But when we talk about, you know, built environment or building, and we are using these green terminologies, so previously, if you see, just go back in the history, so we were never calling it green building or a green certified product. It was just a building, it was just a product. The reason is that because we human has enforced the situation in such a way, as Nilesh Gandhi has well said, that the issues like pollution in the city, issues like water scarcity, issues like, you know, air pollution, issues like biodiversity loss and loss of green cover. So I think all these issues and the problems which we have created already. So now we are thinking for that solutions, and we are trying to just sort all those problems which we have created. And in today's world, then we have started to talk about 3R principle, reduce, recycle, reuse. When these all were principles of our ancestors, they were using it in our day-to-day life. Okay. So the point here is, because if I talk a lot, I can talk on 2 hours, 3 hours, but the time is the constraint. So the point here is, when we talk about sustainability or any green building thing, whatever, I think we need to simplify the concepts and we need to simplify the process. So these concepts could reach to the masses and common man as well, because these should not be exclusively for, you know, a very few people in the society or a very few stakeholders. This is what I feel from my heart. So if we want to take it to the large number of society, it is very, very important. First thing is awareness, capacity building, and sensitizing their mind and transforming their mindset from conventional approach to, you know, responsible approach, which my friend has already spoken about. So when we talk about a green building, in IGBC, we define it very simply with the Panch Bhutas, with the 5 elements of Mother Earth, with a very spiritual language. So when we call Agni, so we address energy, fire. So when we say water, we address Jal, means water efficiency. And when we say Dhara, Bhumi, so we talk about our, you know, the biodiversity aspects, flora, fauna, white water hydrology, soil quality, and all that. And when we talk about Vayu and Akash, the 2 other elements, so we address our daylight in the design, we address passive design, ventilation, etc. So these are very simple concepts of Vedic science, which we call aparigriha or minimum possession. So we are now, you know, embedding these concepts in the newly designed and newly formulated concepts of our rating system, you call it, or sustainability concept, you call it. Finally, we are talking one important aspect, that is the natural resource, how we can preserve, how we can conserve. So whatever the way as an individual I can do, whatever the way I'm a real estate developer I can do, as an architect, how I can design responsibly, how I can design green engineering practice as an engineer, as any kind of role you people are playing as a corporate or as an organization, how I am contributing to make it more responsible way, the operation, the design,
the way I want to live, the way I want to progress. I think that's the key. Now I feel that everyone speaker has just spoken about that. Solutions we have, problems we know. So now slowly, I think the time we have reached today where problems is on very higher side, solutions we have, but we need to speed up our pace. So now we cannot go slowly. So we have come up to that stage that already we are talking about Earth Overshoot Day, which has been already on 23rd July. The point here is whatever the way we can do by net zero solution of Shabbir ji, by Rajiv Singhal ji through their green products. Like in IGBC, we have more than 8,000 green certified products in India. So green supply chain problem is resolved when you have certified products, because those certified products have already gone through the life cycle cost assessment, and already we know that they are green, and if you use that, you can do a low carbon development. So we have the solutions, but point here is how we progress and we increase the GDP also, we think about the economy also, but how the sustainably the green economy could be progressed, and we can change our path in such a way so that we are not thinking about just our business, but we are thinking about society and social aspects of the communities, which I think my friend Anshul has already addressed, the social and environmental aspects. And ESG she spoke about. So ESG is just nothing, it's just a corporate's mandates which they are doing for the responsible operation. So green building approach itself addresses your 14 sustainable development goals by default. And when we talk about the carbon emissions, scope 1 and 2 are very well addressed in the green building approach. So everything has synergy with each other. All of us who are sitting here, they all are solution providers. They all are green thinkers. Everybody has something, to do something for society, for environment, for the built environment. So let's all, collectively continue this journey, because at the end, I would say sustainability is not a destination. It's a journey for everyone. So if we understand that and we continue our path, so definitely, through your platform like ACE Update, I congratulate you. So such kind of platforms, they can create a larger impact on the community, and everybody can enrich about the knowledge and wisdom about the sustainability and these simple green concepts. Thank you for organizing such shows, and all my speaker fellows. Thank you sharing for your knowledge and wisdom to the audiences. This is what I want to say, and thank you. You can say vote of thanks from your organization, because otherwise it will be vote of thanks from a speaker itself. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your insights.